Hello, everyone. Season 2, episode 28 of the Hall of Fame show. And for those who were hoping to see something last week, apologies. Evan Nolan, my wonderful co-host, got a little under the weather. And then my dog did. No, this isn't a country song. This really happened. But Evan's back on vacation, so I had to go back to Buffalo and get the world's greatest triathlete from Buffalo.
Coming off the bench.
Yes. How you doing, Glenn?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. You know what I did in preparation, knowing that you were going to be part of this? I actually watched the triathlon of the Olympics, and I have questions.
Okay, and you know, this is the premier event this year in triathlon, and it didn't start off all that great. But go ahead.
There was a boat in the way.
There was a boat in the middle of the pontoon. Now, whoever's in charge of the starter's gun, what the hell are you looking at? There's this boat in the middle of the pontoon that's getting ready to veer out, and right out, they do blow the horn. 30 athletes just go off, going balls to the wall in the swim, and the other 30 are just standing there. Okay, what are we supposed to do? But yeah, I mean, ridiculous. The premier event in triathlon, and whoever's pushing the button fucked it up.
It just almost feels very typical of these Olympics, frankly.
Isn't it? I don't know how much you've been watching, but hasn't it just been the weirdest?
A lot, because I have nothing else to do. I hate myself for watching all this because I'm kind of disgusted. I've always been disgusted in a way by the IOC because it's a filthy sort of organization. Having said that, just like everything that could go wrong seems to be going wrong. Japan is not exactly ready for this, nor do they want it.
No, and that's I think I read a couple of weeks back where Japan had no input whatsoever, given the structure of the IOC contract with the cities that they agree with for the Olympics. They basically own the city for whatever billions of dollars they pay for it. And that's it. I mean, the government can't say anything. The local mayors or whoever's in charge cannot say anything because, I mean, their Dr. Fauci said, no, we shouldn't have the Olympics.
But did he flip-flop and say they should and then shouldn't and then should and then shouldn't?
I don't think he did because this was like within the last month.
Okay.
So it wasn't the whole year-long thing where they were going back and forth. This was their doctor saying, no, we shouldn't be inviting all these countries here, with different types of scenarios going on within each individual country on how they're handling this epidemic. But hey, let's bring the world to one spot and have everyone live together. But I mean, in case our listeners were wondering, that they did get out with the condoms this year in Athletes Village.
A lot less, but that's because Ryan Lochte isn't there.
Poor Ryan Lochte, the failed TV host.
You know what? I would love to look like that and be failed and be a moron. I think I would make that trade.
Athletes get away with a lot in our society, and I'll leave it at that.
Also, it doesn't hurt to look like Ryan Lochte.
Yeah.
I would have to sort of say that I said on a previous show with Evan that, you know, like, while there's certainly a white privilege, financial privilege trumps everything, but I forgot to mention that the one that's number 2 is pretty privilege.
Yeah. You can get away with a lot if you're an attractive person in this world.
Absolutely. And
you obviously can attest to that.
No, I cannot. I most certainly can't. So, but the triathlon, though, my first question, here's a dumb one.
Okay.
I thought the triathlon was actually longer.
There are several distances you can compete in. There's your sprint distance, which is essentially half of what the Olympic distance was, about a 750-meter swim, 12.5-mile bike ride, and then the 5K at the end. The Olympic distance is double that. So you're looking at a 1,500-meter swim, about a 40-kilometer or 25-mile bike ride, and then the 10K at the end. And those races, I mean, for television purposes, basically, you get them done in an hour and 45, hour 50, maybe 2 hours for the men and slightly longer for the women. And then you step up to the longer distance, the iron distances, the 70.3 distance and the 140.6 distance.
And that's what you see in Hawaii?
Yes, that's the Ironman in Hawaii, which, I mean, ironically, Ironman Lake Placid was going on yesterday, and Ironman streamed it on Facebook, and I did watch most of the events. But I mean, there are very few people who just sit there and watch. that duration of event and have interests in triathlon for that long. But this Olympic venue is great because it's just concentrated in one area where you can have your drones, you can have your boat cams, you can have your motorcycle cams, and basically see it all on the run. And your Ironman is just drawn out over miles, and depending on where your location is. I mean, yesterday in the Adirondacks, they did tape delay because they're in the mountains and they can't link up. The cell phone coverage is horrible, so whatever they're filming, they can't bring back to their mission control and beam it out to the net. So they recorded the swim, tape delayed that on the internet, and then towards the end of the bike ride, they finally went to live coverage of the marathon.
Okay. When I was listening to the commentators, so like they as they were coming out of the water, they were talking about how it's like there's 4 sports, the transitioning, and which made me think Laurel Hubbard has decided she's going to enter into the next competition for. Sorry,
it's something Caitlyn Jenner could have done back in the day.
Well, just only a few years ago.
Yes. But I mean, if triathlon was when she was competing, she could have transitioned much earlier.
That's very true. That is very true.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was sort of prepared to do a bit of a discussion on that. So with Evan not here, so we're gonna pass on his regular section of the good, the bad, and the ugly of sports.
Well, we could just lump that in with the Olympics.
We could.
That pretty much covers all 3.
I think it's mostly bad and ugly, really.
Yeah.
And again, I'm watching all of it, so what the hell do I know? I will start off with Kirk Shitbox, or is what you sort of renamed "Get Off My Lawn."
Because we're old white men who will sit on our porches and just say, "Get off my lawn."
More or less. And this is something I was going to talk about last week, but we weren't able to do that. But it sort of reigns true. Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Issue. And apparently that's still a thing. Apparently Sports Illustrated is still a thing, which is barely. When I was a kid, they were the biggest deal in sports media. I don't even think they're in the top 10.
No, and I mean, I don't even think they have a predominant internet presence.
No,
I mean, you think internet, you think probably the ESPNs, you think the Bleacher Reports.
Even NBC Sports is a great channel.
Right.
Through their network, and BBC in the UK or Sky Sports. There's just so many different things out there.
They're helped with the content that they get to put out. I mean, if you're a media company just pumping out articles and stories, that's really tough to do.
Right, but I mean, they definitely fell behind the times.
Sure. They didn't buy anything, basically.
No, yeah. So they're living off reputation, and this is what this is. So last week or 6 days ago, they announced 3 covers for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit, which when we were younger, or probably up until a few years ago, was generally top models of the day. Now the 3 women are Naomi Osaka, Meg Thee Stallion, and Lena Bloom, who is the first cover who's transgender. So left-wing media is going, look at this, look at all this progress. Wow. Right-wing media saying, look at all this woke bullshit. All right, both of you, who gives a shit? Nobody buys this magazine. Nobody.
No, you're right, and we were talking about it. I didn't know it was still a thing. Number one, and a thing that could produce controversy.
It's complete nonsense. So the people who are praising this, 20 years ago, you would have been saying, look, it's only just promoting white women and it's bad. Look at that. It's sexist. But now it's not sexist because it's women of color and a trans. Okay. And for you on the right, like the Ben Shapiro's of the world who went off on this. Why? It's not like you're reading this. Ben, you're not a sports guy. You say you're not a sports guy. Why do you care? Why do any of you care when no one's reading this? No one's buying this. Internet killed this a long time ago. Why would anyone go to look at any of this stuff when you can just make no effort, go on some Insta model? That's all you want. That's it. So is Sports Illustrated trying to be woke? No, they're trying to actually get their name out there. Are they really thinking in their office, hey, you know what? Let's if we just really, who's the top model now? The Hadids?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Or Kylie Jenner, whatever. Yeah, you can get them, but it's not, what difference is it going to make? They don't need the money. You couldn't afford them. So you're going to go this direction. It got their name out there, and it got them people talking about them for, I guess, the first time since last year when they had a trans in it. And I think they had a full Muslim in her burkini.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So like, what are you going to do next year?
It's probably time for the issue to just go by the wayside.
It should have a long time ago.
I mean, when we were younger, it was your dad had the subscription or whatever, and as a kid entering puberty, you'd look forward to that issue, and it'd probably end up under your bed in your bedroom for the full year until the next one came out, and that was pretty much the only purpose
under
of
my
that
pillow.
issue.
Yeah, but yeah, at this point, it serves virtually no purpose. But no, they'll do it again next year because they actually got a lot of attention with it. So what?
Right.
Who's next? Megan Rapinoe, since she just did Victoria's Secret.
Could be.
Who's the next? I guess they got to look and ask themselves, who's the biggest victim in the world? And that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it's way past due from just entering extinction.
And again, they'll debate about it next year. And again, I will never have seen the actual magazine, because when I go to the dentist office, usually it's that National Geographic from 1993.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I read a Sports Illustrated issue. It might have been, and again, you're talking about doctors' offices. It might have. I'm a Duke basketball fan, and I think it was probably the last Duke championship that they won.
Or they just hired a young Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah,
maybe that one.
Maybe
it's a dead thing, and I'm just sort of tired of people whining about things that are irrelevant. I know that we're in a culture war here in the West, but God damn it, let's just pick our spots over what we're going to get complaining about. No wonder I'm a sort of devout centrist these days.
Yeah, there's much lower hanging fruit that's worth picking than the Sports Illustrated swimsuit models and issue.
It's there's a lot of things that people can talk about. Quick thing opening on the Olympics. So Naomi Osaka, going back to her, is become one of those people who became a little bit controversial because of her media stance. I said on a previous thing with Evan that I'm pretty much with her on a lot of this, because I believe her when she says she's got a mental health issue.
Right.
Because her interview skills are terrible, and she clearly looks miserable and uncomfortable. So I believe you can do that, and then sort of like in your own controlled environment, go on the cover of Vogue, go on, have your own Netflix thing. It's absolutely possible. Different people get triggered by different things.
And you got to realize, though, I mean, when you're, and I don't know how much public speaking you've done in front of people, any type of seminars. I mean, a live environment, like, it's not controlled.
Right.
And that freaks a lot of people out, let alone a young female or a young male.
Right.
And unless you get practice at it, you're gonna suffer at it. And not a lot of people can handle that, especially when you're in front of the whole world.
So, and some of the, again, going back to the right wing, so they were looking at her like, well, you certainly felt well enough to light the torch. I didn't have a problem with her lighting the torch. I thought it was interesting, and maybe I'm just sort of taking it from a nationalistic perspective, although obviously I'm not Japanese, but I would think that if I'm going to have someone light when we had that in Canada, the last one, I was so happy with who we had at the Vancouver games, with Gretzky, Steve Nash, Katrina LeMay-Doan, and I'm blanking on the fourth one, but 4 athletic icons.
Right.
Shit we had before were all embarrassment because we had no athletic icons. Japan does have a rich athletic history. I would have thought, if I'm Japanese, and again, I don't know how they feel. I'm just thinking maybe as an older person here at this point, maybe I'd want my torch, the person who lit the cauldron to be, I don't know, someone who actually lives there.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
That was sort of something I didn't see anyone write about, but maybe they are in Japan, and I can't read it.
I mean, they have enough baseball superstars that could have done it.
Yeah, but Sadaharu O apparently was part of the procession.
Right.
But to be fair,
I mean, that's the name that came right to mind as the guy who probably should have lit it.
Yeah. But he was never in the Olympics, and baseball doesn't exactly have that.
No, but I mean, if you're talking about, yeah, but if you're talking about sport, I mean, baseball is in the Olympics, and you're right, it was in mid 80s, early 90s,
Yeah.
and then left for, probably a good 20 years,
Mhm.
and then came back. But still, I mean, you want to go with your named guys.
Yeah, that's sort of what I would think, and I'm surprised.
I mean, the face of the country, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah, which she very well might be. I mean, like, kudos to her on that. I kind of hope she kicks ass. She's been one of the few people I'm cheering for.
Yeah,
that's not Canadian. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that just a little bit, but we have to talk about those who died. This is Evan's big thing. He's far more sensitive on this.
Is he?
Yeah.
You're saying he's sensitive, right?
Well, I'm not saying he's like sensitive that he cries during sex or anything. I'm just saying.
No, I'm not sensitive. I got another one bites the dust music going in the background.
Okay, well, let's.
Okay, let me cut this before we have to pay rights.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they really want my Buchner money, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's some of the big names that left us. Biz Marquee.
Yeah.
That one. It's
funny. Baby, you got what I need.
Yeah, just he's got to make. I don't know if there's any rapper who made other rappers think, "Oh shit, I can do this." And I don't mean this in the most negative way, because yeah, he was more of a stammerer. He could beatbox very, very, very well, but one of the first rappers to go number one. Now, if a rap song isn't number one, that's strange.
Right.
But yeah, left at only 57. Complications with diabetes.
Yeah, type 2 diabetes. And I mean, again, Twitter could be cruel, but one of the lines was he never met a donut he didn't like.
Neither have I.
Yeah, and then and again, going to the left wing point of it, I can't remember what MSNBC personality did a whole opening on it and how it shows the structural racism with the healthcare system in America and the black man dying at a younger age. And I'm like, the statistics are right about that, but this is the wrong example to do it when you're talking about type 2 diabetes. That's lifestyle. And that's just the wrong box to get up on.
Yeah, I don't really, and I think maybe also too, I'm sort of thinking now that I'm living in a country that's 93% black, although there's just a lot of this is just your own choice and what you're going to make in life.
Right.
They've had some money.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely. And I'm sure never met a donut he didn't like, never met a steak he didn't like, or
a doctor he listened to,
or a doctor he listened to, right?
And that's a big part of it. There are definitely some cases where that is a case to be made. But I agree with you. This isn't it. I think at this point it's just sort of like time to celebrate the doors he opened for. He helped open in the type of jovial hip hop that existed in the late 80s.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing malicious about that song.
No.
I mean, he's singing so out of key. It's hilarious, but perfect.
That video.
And the guy could play a little piano.
Yeah. So from the flip side, and thanks for Evan who sent me some of these, because he always looks the stuff up ahead of time. So 2 members of the hair metal band Cinderella died in the same day.
No.
Yeah, Jeff LaBar, guitarist, and Gary Corbett, keyboardist.
Wow.
In Evan's notes, I didn't look this up. I just assume this is correct, but this blows my mind. Apparently, he wrote She Bop for Cyndi Lauper.
Yes, I think I do remember hearing about that.
Okay, that blew my mind. Like, I wouldn't have thought that the guitarist or the keyboardist of a heavy metal band or hair metal band would have the defining song on female masturbation. But hey, why the hell not?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. Robbie Steinhardt, singer vocalist of Kansas, or violinist.
Okay.
Sorry.
Classic rock band, and yeah, Dust in the Wind, literally.
Yeah. And a pretty big name that didn't get any play, and it should have, Dennis Murphy. He died at 92. You know him?
No.
Okay, but you know his creations. Founder of World Team Tennis, Roller Hockey International, and the World Hockey Association.
Oh, okay.
So and also with the ABA, American Basketball Association.
Okay.
So this guy is he tried everything he could to get a bunch of other cool sports off the ground or leagues. So a pretty big name that
not a lot of people.
No, I mean, ESPN should do a 30 for 30 on this guy.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Greg Knapp, assistant coach, just died, age 58. Who's just with the new gig as a pass game specialist for the Jets.
Horrible story. Horrible story.
Yeah. So he was riding his bicycle, just struck, which, I mean, you must practice on your bike all the time. So that's got to hit you a little bit, huh?
You know, and everyone does. And I don't know if I disclosed this to you last year or whatever at this time, but July of last year, I T-boned a car.
Oh, no, I didn't know
on my bike. Yeah, I was downtown Buffalo out by the waterfront on Furman Boulevard, the bike path there. And there's this little descent that's on a bike path. And I know there's a parking lot to the left. And so I'm on my brakes, thinking, okay, just in case I need to brake. And sure enough, with about 15 feet, a woman pulls out, stops in the middle of the bike path before she makes her turn on the road. And I could not brake and just slammed right into her. So that was a separated AC joint that I'm still recovering from. But yeah, I mean, you're always conscious about that. And after the injury, I'm a little hesitant to do hard work outside. Yeah. So right now, I mean, and I'm assuming the coach was just doing a casual ride. And from what I've been reading, I guess there was texting while driving involved. So it's just ugly, and we're not a bike culture nationwide, not like the Italies or the France or the French, where you have these, and it's an older country and you got the narrow roads, but there's respect for cyclists. And it just does not exist in this country, no matter how Bend, Oregon wants to say they're a biking community, or Boulder, Colorado, another biking hotbed. The drivers just do not give the respect to the cyclists.
No, and just sometimes though, and I'm sure you've seen this with other cyclists, a lot of the time they're just not exactly respecting the cars either.
No, you're right. And a lot of it is the casual cyclists. I mean, I'll be driving downtown Buffalo and see a cyclist just drive the wrong way, or crossing against the light, or just doing something really stupid. And like, okay, I know to pay attention for that, but the vast majority of motorists probably aren't looking out for you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah. From Finland, Tuomo Yipali, I might be pronouncing his name wrong. I'm sure I am. Gold medalist in '88 at the team ski jump.
Oh wow, that's young.
Yeah, I watched that Olympics. I probably watched I watched the entire second half of it. I broke my leg, so I was laid out at home for a week, and so I could watch all of that. And I remember watching a lot of Eddie Edward, like Eddie the Eagle, thinking this is so disrespectful. This guy's just and I felt bad for all the guys who were winning. Yeah, because nobody remembers them. I don't remember them. And this guy not only did he get all the attention, he got a movie made about him.
Never saw the movie.
I saw it. I don't remember anything about it. I mean, I remember watching all that.
Take that one off the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nothing special. Starring Hugh Jackman, who didn't play Eddie the Eagle. I forget who did.
I don't even remember the movie coming out.
It's nothing. And more recently, this isn't necessarily fitting with everything that we do, but Jackie Mason died. A great.
I heard,
comedian.
yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it. I heard that.
Very underappreciated, undersuccessful comedian. Banned from Ed Sullivan at one point. Just to go,
His comedy was a little raunchy.
yeah, it was. Never made it big, but always killed. Always killed. And for the purposes of the fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, which is announced its semifinalists, we'll be going through that next week. You could have voted for Jack Hartoonian from Caddyshack 2, but it was Caddyshack 2. Not his fault why that was bad.
The lesser of sequels put out there.
It was a horrible, horrible sequel, but again, it wasn't his fault. It was.
You know, you get the script, you get the contract, you see how many zeros are after the one, and you just put your name on it.
I don't think with Jackie Mason, I don't think it took him that much to get him. I'm guessing.
A paying gig is a paying gig.
Well, this is true. Who was in that? So it was him, Chevy Chase, and as his career was down spiraling, Dan Aykroyd in an uncredited role in his least funny appearance of anything, and that includes him when he was in war movies.
You know, I've seen the movie and I just cannot recollect anything about it. Nothing memorable, no great lines.
No, because there's nothing great about that movie.
No.
But Jackie Mason was great. At Simpsons fans, he's the voice of Krusty the Clown's Krusty the Clown's dad.
Yep.
So yeah, I watched some old material just when that happened. So I thought, also in The Jerk.
The Jerk was a good movie.
Yes. So
that was a really good movie.
Jackie Mason. So those are sort of the big ones here. From before I go into elevator up, elevator down, which God, I'm closing it. Usually Evan closes all this stuff. Huh. Look at that. What's your reaction from the first bit of the Olympics other than the triathlon? Like, what have you been watching?
The time difference has killed me. It's just tough to see stuff live. I think and maybe it wasn't a big surprise, but the fact that the U.S. men's basketball team just came out and laid an egg against the French.
I'm not surprised actually at all. It's so much harder, I think, for the Americans than people realize because you're playing on the international rules.
Right.
Which
but
most of these guys have never done. And a lot of the French guys have, if they've done that in the French league.
Right, but I want to say they had an 8-point lead with not too much time left to go, and they let it slip away. So that was a little bit of a shocker. What else have I been watching? Caught some softball. I mean, it looks like the Americans are making a run at it. They've gone through to the gold medal game. What else have I caught? Swimming last night. Saw the men's 4x100 relay team. The Americans take the gold. Fun to see Michael Phelps in the studio. He's just like reborn. He's just like a kid in the studio. He's a big fan with his commentary.
How big his ears are.
That's because he always had a swim cap on.
Yeah, I'm not really.
Those swim caps hold your ears in.
You know, big ears, big lungs, big feet. Man, his wife must be happy.
And you know, when you got halfway through that, I knew exactly where you were going with that.
I thought you knew where I was going when I just said big ears.
Yeah,
big ears you have. All the
caught the triathlon, caught the basketball game. Yeah. What do I got? I got badminton on right now, so I got that running in the background. But track and field. I love the track and field. Can't wait for that to get going. Women's triathlon is later today at 5:30. Flora Duffy probably should win that, but again, you never know. I thought Morgan Pierce was going to win yesterday in the men's event, but again, he laid the egg. Big guy in Norwegian, I believe, Bettenfield just ran with Britt Yee, who
they were building him like he was going to win that whole thing.
Yee?
Yeah. Well, when I was listening to the announcers, yeah.
He's a pure runner, and when you look at him, yeah, he's just this twig with legs, and yeah, he could run, but then Battenfield just decided, okay, I'm going to surge ahead from a way far out and see if they can hang with me, and they couldn't. I
remember when, I could be wrong whether it was the first or not, but was it not Simon Whitfield from Canada who won the Olympics and triathlon. That was and if I remember correctly, that was a big surprise.
Yes, it was. What was it? 2000 and was it the first one?
I want to say so, but I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, that was a big surprise.
Is that something? Is it triathlon? Is that one of those sports though that you generally have your favorites, but it's not out of the ordinary for someone to come out from the middle?
No, because it's race dependent. I mean, everybody can swim, and if you can't swim, you're going to get dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on how the bikers want to bike, I mean, if they want to break away and force the runners to actually spend energy on the bike, then that'll happen. But again, I mean, and granting the level of cycling I do is nowhere near what they do, but you do get relief in the draft zone.
Mm-hmm.
So if everyone's just laying back and not doing anything, then you're going to have 10 to 15 cyclists who are in the back of that pack, just really taking it easy. And that's why your cyclists at the front of the pack want to pull away and make those runners work. Mm-hmm. And I mean, from Britain, Alistair and Jonathan Brownlee were kings of that, where they would just swim their heads off, get off on the bike and just destroy people on the bike, making them hurt. And oh yeah, they're world-class runners. So it's field dependent, it's technique dependent, and that's being able to draft on the bike is huge.
One thing I watched that I was surprised how bored I was. It was skateboard.
I didn't take time to watch that just because I think it's so much of a novelty.
I just watched whatever NBC had, and I just sort of like let it run while I was doing work on the site and whatnot. And there's Tony Hawk. So it's when you were talking about Michael Phelps, it's like just somewhat of the same ilk, mm-hmm. just there. And okay, so I'm looking forward to watching this. Like, oh.
And then they street skating, or what was the event? Yeah. See, I was watching the surfing event the other day too, and they're just going up the wave, down the wave, up the wave, down the wave, and whoever's in the commentary booth is going crazy. Oh, this surfboarder did this. I'm like, okay, I guess. It just wasn't anything that really moved me.
That's the other thing too I like about sometimes watching the Olympics, where you clearly have a bunch of announcers who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. They're just digging them out. Okay, well, this guy did college football here in the Pac-10. Yeah, okay, you got this. And so, he's doing the dipsy doodle here. Checking notes. So this young man here from Finland. Finland?
Well, and you got to figure there's enough former athletes around where, spend some money, get a bunch of them in the booth to help whoever's supposed to be doing the lead, and let them do most of the talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then that's the other problem though. You get someone who knows how to broadcast paired with someone who's never broadcast before. And so then they're going through all this technical jargon that means absolutely nothing. So when they had the skaters on and then the surfers too, it would say their stance goofy. What?
Yeah, I saw that.
So what does that mean?
Goofy stance, sponsored by Disney.
I was waiting for someone to explain that, because they all look to be, and I'm sure there's something obvious to someone in the.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like right foot forward or left foot forward, or if that's a different terminology versus whatever is I don't know if right foot forward is conventional or I mean, I think I had a video game way back with the first PlayStation that had the X Games thing, and it was like fakey this and something that, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. It came with the game, but yeah, they have their whole terminology that you might want to educate your announcers on.
It's also too, with no fans, it just kills things.
Yes,
I think especially for the skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
with everything,
music or anything.
I mean, everything. I mean, swimming, track, where people just go wild for the last 50 meters and cheering them in. I mean, it's just, I mean, swimming, yeah, your head's underwater. I don't know how much you hear, but track, that's going to be different. That's going to be really different.
Totally. No, it's going to be, the whole thing is a complete disaster. And again,
and it goes back to our good, bad, and ugly, where it's bad and ugly, where the IOC is just trying to get their money grab. Mm-hmm. And screw the athletes, screw the fans who do go to these events. I mean, I went to, well, yeah, Vancouver in 2010 when
Oh, did
tickets
you?
came available. Yeah, when tickets came available, me and a buddy of mine just decided, okay, what do we want to branch out, or what do we want to do? And hockey fans, so okay, let's concentrate on hockey and see what we can get.
What'd you
Because
get?
obviously we didn't think we'd get anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we put in for a gazillion games. We ended up getting 9 games. So we were there for maybe 7 days, 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
Got a whole bunch of games. Got all 3 games of that Super Sunday: Canada, U.S.,
Wow.
Russia, Czechoslovakia, and Sweden, Finland.
Damn.
And my good friend decided to scalp his USA Canada ticket for $900. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm going to be the only one in the middle of this stadium of Canadian fans. Nah, don't worry. Maybe a supermodel will buy it. Right. That did not happen. This big 6'2", 300-pound, coming down the aisles with 4 beers in his hands, his Crosby jersey on his back, sits down and says, oh my God, I'm going to be stuck with this guy for the whole game.
You say that, but maybe that person's going to be in the next Sports Illustrated swimsuit model.
No, he wasn't. But that, I mean, you Canadians are great. By the end of the first period, we're talking, and they're like, so where'd you come from? Well, I came from Buffalo. Their eyes bulge out, and you came all the way from Buffalo to watch a hockey game? I said, yeah, beer, get a beer here. So yeah, they were great. And then that game was just incredible.
Of course it is. It's a lot safer than if you put on a Dolphins hat to a Bills game.
Probably, yes.
I've seen people get knocked silly for that.
Yes.
Miami wasn't even playing that game, which threw me off. What the hell were you thinking, dumbass? But no, that's awesome. I've never been to any Olympics at all. I've shot at that biathlon there. Just
okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, what was the Olympics before that? Whatever. Vancouver's getting it. Okay, well, I got to email someone and see how to get tickets. And your Canadian Olympic Committee put me on a mailing list, and I think 2 years later they started selling tickets in lottery, and yeah, good time.
Nice. Damn, I've never gone to anything as cool as that. Piles upon piles of regular season games. Never been to a playoff in anything. Never.
Gotta get to a playoff game.
It's going to be a lot harder.
First, you got to move back to the continental North America.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. But what happened in the see, I'm getting better at segues. What happened in the continental United States and North America? An elevator up. I've gotten an elevator down. I have no one over the last week that I thought really hurt their Hall of Fame chances.
Nice. Mr. Positivity this week.
If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. I mean, I could actually pick on a couple of baseball players.
You could.
Actually, you know what? I will. David Price.
David
Price, who's pretty much maybe the 7th or 8th best pitcher right now for the Dodgers. And he just will not have done enough. Like, if this is where he is now in his career, are you a spot starter, mid-relief guy? They're just using him for whatever they can get out of him. His trajectory is done. That's it.
And I never thought of him as a Hall of Famer.
At one point, maybe a few years ago,
he had a few good seasons.
You could maybe see him getting there, but now at this point, that's it. I mean, of course, he's doing better right now than Trevor Bauer.
Well, yeah.
Jesus. Holy crap. You know, it's not going to be a good thing. That it's never going to end well when your constant line is, but it was consensual.
And I don't even know if I want to speak to this. Given who I may offend. But Trevor, I mean, what was his contract worth?
I don't know, but it's got to be
millions. He's a
digits.
Multi-millionaire a few times over.
Yeah.
Obviously, the gentleman has some kinks.
Which is fine.
Absolutely. He was tweeting or instant messaging or however he met this young lady, going back and forth. She probably realized he had a few kinks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, consensual. But I mean, if you're, And I'm trying to remember how it went, but I think the first time they met was in person and then did whatever they did. Now, you as a baseball player, you got to know your persona, your kinks, what you're getting into. What may or may not happen. This may or may not get out to the press, what you like to do and whatnot.
Hmm.
Now, unless you want this to come to light in the media or what have you, you're a millionaire. Take the short drive to Vegas, go to one of the clubs they have there, which are extremely discreet, I'm told, drop your money and get your kink on.
But sometimes that's also part of their kink, is getting someone to who may not normally do that.
Well, now you're going to like kink to the third degree.
Well, let's look at Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson is a multimillionaire, good-looking quarterback who does not need any help getting any female attention. I think he's also married too. Is he?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
All right. So let's say whether he's married or not. I mean, if he's married, then he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. But if he's not married, I mean, either way, we have a guy who gets off on getting female massages and saying, well, let's see if I can get something else from it. Allegedly, let's put that in.
I can't remember. Was this at the team facilities?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think both. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, just like everywhere. I mean, like
Okay.
there's more than
This face is on the wall at every massage parlor
Yeah.
or masseuse in America said, "Do not serve."
or he means something different when he says, "I'm going to give you a tip."
Just the tip.
Yeah. So different athletes, though, also these elite athletes and elite stars of any kind will get away with a whole lot of stuff.
That goes back to the athlete privilege. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that. Yeah, there's another level of privilege. So it's like, okay, there's a pro wrestler who just got nabbed for Jimmy Uso. I don't know if you ever watch pro wrestling. Okay, so he just got his 4th DUI.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And because he's in a major angle, they're leaving him on TV, which, like, Jesus Christ, which is pretty shitty that the WWE is doing. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, this is his 4th DUI in about 4 years. So that's the 4th time. That means he's been caught 4 times.
Right. Oh, there's no doubt he's been on the road several more 1,000 times.
Right. So, I mean, there's a certain level of how many of these people get away with so much shit that, so like, I guess why I bring this up. So when you're talking about like Trevor Bauer, why doesn't he do that? Because he's probably got teammates and has other friends who get away with a bunch of shit. And it's not that I'm saying that all ball players are like, oh, of course they're not. You've got some, but if you're at that type of level of fame, financial, all these other levels of privilege that you have, you're getting away with things that you and I sure as hell wouldn't get away with.
Oh, no. And we certainly couldn't afford the lawyers to get us out of it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, that's a long way to go from David Price, wasn't it?
To Trevor Bauer, Vegas, to massage parlors.
Massage parlors. Well, to someone who can afford a lot of massage parlors and elevator up is 2 people from the Milwaukee Bucks. Congratulations to Milwaukee for winning the championship. I had a lot of fun watching that series. I know the ratings were terrible. I know a lot of people are saying, going back to right-wing, left-wing media, well, it's because the NBA went woke. I would just argue that it's 2 smaller market teams, and Giannis, as great as he is not a star that transcends the sport. He doesn't.
He's in the wrong market to become a star.
He's also the wrong person. He's got a name that most people can't pronounce.
And yeah, that goes back to, what was this? Stephen A. Smith, who went off on Ohtani being the face of baseball. There's parallels in how can Giannis be the face of the NBA?
There is, but baseball's decided to make Ohtani that super level. Did you watch the All-Star game and the Derby? Okay, so if you watch that in a vacuum, if you've got someone coming over and they're watching that and they have no idea about anything about baseball, that person's going to say, like, holy shit, clearly this guy is the biggest person alive. because they're marketing him that way.
Mhm.
Basketball doesn't market Giannis that way. Giannis doesn't market himself that way. Giannis isn't in a whole lot of commercials. He's a low-key guy.
And he's probably not going to be in a lot of commercials.
Yeah, and he probably
I mean, given NBA contracts, he doesn't need to be.
Sure, but he's also not someone like I try to think of how does he talk again, and I can't even picture his voice. It's like I think the best player in the last 20 years, although a lot of people will disagree with me, is Tim Duncan. I honestly think that.
Yeah.
He'd be the guy I would build a whole team around if I was ever an NBA GM
And the Spurs did. I mean, they got lucky with the lottery.
Yeah.
Got David Robinson and Tim Duncan, and eventually that was Tim Duncan's team.
Yeah, but Duncan didn't talk much, didn't do a lot of, he was a low-key guy, and he was happy to spend his career in a small market. Giannis is a Greek version of that. So he was never going to get any bigger. He could win the next 3 titles, and I don't think he's going to be a bigger star than he is now. I really believe that. Devin Booker, I hope they will market a lot. Chris Paul already is, but that's what they've got to do. They've got to market all this stuff. But there was nobody who was considered a big star. I will say also to a few people who wrote, well, does this hurt Chris Paul's legacy? Go fuck yourself.
No.
This doesn't.
No, I mean, I don't think championships are the cherry on top. And there's just so few of them given out in a given year, in a given career. I mean, you play 10, 15, maybe 20 years. How many legitimate shots are you going to have? Mm-hmm. Especially in team sports. I mean, yeah, you can be a dominant player, but even the dominant players on teams don't always win the championships.
No, it's so true. It's
no guarantee in a team sport.
But the 2 people I want to look at, it's not Giannis, because Giannis is already a Hall of Famer.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah. One's, I think, is sort of an interesting conversation. Khris Middleton.
I did look at his stats.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's got some work to do. But again, if you're looking again, elevator up, elevator down, he's going towards the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th floors.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, depending on how this team stays together and what he does on it, sure. I mean, he could make his way to that level.
Also, these things get forgotten so quickly. Giannis didn't play at the end of that Eastern Conference final.
No.
Khris had to do a lot of that work. And Holiday was really good. But Khris also has a very unique opportunity right now. If USA rebounds, and they're going to. They got Iran next. I think I feel pretty comfortable saying they're going to beat Iran.
They should.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If not, someone will get fired.
Well, who do you fire?
Who's in charge of IOC US basketball?
I don't know. Well, I mean, also too. I mean, a lot of people don't want to play. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly not like 1992. Okay, we're going to let all the pros go. All right, we're all in. I mean, they had a freeze. They froze Isaiah Thomas out, and
that was a lot of people on that team that didn't want him there.
Right, but I mean, like now, nobody would be froze out because no one's got that type of power to sort of because not all the big guns were going to want to go play. But let's say USA wins the whole thing. Khris Middleton would become one of the 5 people to win an Olympic gold and an NBA title.
In the same season?
Yeah, in the same season.
Okay. That's impressive.
The others being Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, who did it twice. Shit, I just looked this up. Kyrie Irving, and then the outlier, Lamar Odom. So if Middleton does this, he does this in a time where he had no rest in between.
And that's probably why no one wanted to play.
Right. But they still had 3 people come there, Middleton, Holiday, and Booker, from that finals.
Right.
So I don't know. I didn't look at the box score, so I didn't really see who was doing most of the heavy lifting for Team USA. I know that Durant was on the floor at the end.
Yeah, I didn't look at the box score.
Yeah. I do sort of question how good this team is when JaVale McGee's on it. Jeez. I mean, Evan and I were joking about Kevin Love, and then like, man.
Well, he bailed, didn't he?
Yeah, he decided he got hurt. He decided he got hurt. I shouldn't have said it like that.
No, he decided he got hurt.
Yeah. Or yeah, maybe he couldn't take the criticism. Yeah, you're right. It should be an all-black team. Because apparently that's something we have to pay attention to now.
Yeah, and again, I think a couple of weeks ago when I subbed in, where Lin-Manuel Miranda is getting shit for not being diverse enough, we've gone down the wrong path.
It's an interesting thing who we decide to cancel and who we don't. It'll always be very interesting. So that's sort of why I even said I would say this about Megan Rapinoe comes up a lot. But I said, like, when she got caught, or when an old tweet of hers came up and she just made some Asian crack, I said, don't apologize. Just no point. There's just no point. The same people are just going to shit on you all over again. And although I will say this, here's my prediction. In a few years, shit's going to come out that a lot of her teammates can't stand her.
I could see that.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong about that, but I wonder if a lot of this has gone to her head. When I'm watching the Olympics in the opening bit, and I see how they had her talking, like right before USA was walking out, because I was watching the NBC broadcast.
Okay.
So she's on the team bus, and they're all talking, and they were on to talk to her because her wife Sue Bird was one of the flag bearers.
Right.
And then they were talking to other stuff. But I look at all her teammates behind her, and no one's even looking around her. They're not even looking at her. Which I'm probably reading more to it than there is. But I wonder.
Well, that's the podcast journalist in you looking for something.
It could be. I mean, I'm also
trying to look for the details, look under every stone, and that's just good journalism right there. Kirk.
Oh yeah. Where's my Pulitzer?
Is there webcast Pulitzers?
I'm sure there's something for that, and I ain't gonna win any of it.
Oh, we can shoot for that.
Well,
baby steps.
Yeah, exactly. But then I'm also watching Simone Biles and just how great she is with her teammates. For Team USA and the gymnastics. And you can just see that they all love her.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's always been the case with U.S. gymnastics, particularly on the women's side, where they all come across as BFFs.
That's also true.
I don't think I ever remember seeing any type of animosity between teammates for as long as and that's I don't want to say going back to the Mary Lou Retton years, but all through the years, it seems like the American girls just get along.
Yeah, and I am comparing two completely different sports, and also one person who has shot up in the stratosphere so quickly of being, because Megan Rapinoe 5 years ago, when she was still 31, so like a veteran, right. A lot of people didn't know who she was.
No, not till the World Cup.
Well, before that, when she started kneeling. So then,
was it before or after the World Cup? Or was that the same year?
No, she did it right after Kaepernick did.
Okay.
So because she joined in on that, and
okay, well, that was 2016, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the World Cup was what, 18?
19, because I was here.
Okay.
Yeah. So. And I've always said, as much as I don't think I'd like her as a person, I love the fact that she painted a bullseye on her back and she kicked ass. And that was awesome.
She did. I mean, she was the focal point and was the star of that World Cup.
Mm-hmm. And she did that. And I guess that's where I want to close off here. As an American, and does it seem to you, because I'm just doing this as an outside looking in, I've never seen this in my life, where I've seen so many Americans cheer certain Americans failing. And
I don't get that.
Me out a bit.
I don't, that might just be like recently.
That's what I'm thinking. Because like I don't like this at all. And again, I'm not American. I'm Canadian. I know that if there were certain people I disliked, I still want them to win a medal and represent things, especially if they're on a team sport. Maybe you don't like Megan. Okay, well, not all her teammates probably feel the same way she does. And even if they do, it's not like they're coming out and saying, you know what, if we win the whole thing, we're going to burn the flag. Although there was a BMX racer who said she would do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was an alternate who didn't get on, another trans person.
Chelsea, I didn't hear about that.
Well, she made a post, and that was also when Trump was president.
Okay.
So also, and to be fair, if we're going to say what a lot of people say online when they're being trolls, they don't really mean it. Perhaps neither did she.
Possibly.
She was feeling pissy that day.
Yeah. See, I don't know whether it was in the Atlantic or what other publication I was reading where they were going over the Olympics and how it's supposed to be void of any type of political.
Well, never has been.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what they were going back to. It should just be the purity of sport and competition amongst athletes. Mm-hmm. And that just wasn't the case going back to, I mean, Jesse Owens and Adolf Hitler. Mm-hmm. All the way up through 1968 and the Black Panther fist in the air to the Cold War and the Miracle on Ice and not going to the summer games. So there's always, hasn't been the case, and it hasn't been the purity of sports and nations just competing on the athletic field as opposed to the battlefield. There's always been those political undertones. From an American standpoint, it looks like that animosity is within the country itself, and that's something that's totally different and probably has evolved from, I don't want to say mid Barack Obama to now, to where how did this country elect someone that didn't look like them? Yeah. And I think that's where we've been going down the slope to where we are now. It's
really off-putting, and for me watching, I don't know, imagine for you it's obviously different being an American and cheering for Team USA and really everything. Mm-hmm. I've just never seen people taking all this great delight, like when the US soccer lost 3-0 and like, like really?
I don't get, I mean, and especially if you're, well, I'm guessing it was the casual observers watching that and taking glee in the women's defeat. Because let's face it, I mean, the men's team sucks. If you're a soccer fan in America, you really should be rooting for these women because they're the only soccer team that's done anything on the international stage. Mm-hmm. And why you were rooting for them or took glee in their misstep against Sweden, correct?
Yeah. And there was some.
It's just beyond me.
Yeah, and the same ones were also taking a bit of delight with the U.S. losing to France and pointing that towards, well, the woke NBA. All right, now a lot of the people you dislike aren't on that team. So where is this coming from?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I get the thing with Gwen Berry, because Glenn did have a temper. People can say, well, she just turned her back. She had a temper tantrum on the podium. Yeah, that was the act of
not her best moment.
No, and that's someone who I think is looking to maybe she's looking to cash in. I don't know. I wonder about her. But at the same time, I don't think if I was American, I could ever cheer against her. I couldn't do it.
No, because I mean, in theory, we're all on the same team.
Right.
When it comes down to it. And yeah, I mean, the only time, and again, just because of the international stage and how the pros have gone to the Olympics, if the Americans are out and I don't know, pick Sweden. If Sweden's in the gold medal game against Russia, I'm going to go for Sweden.
In which sport?
Hockey.
In hockey? Oh, okay.
In basketball, I don't even know who I'd root for in basketball, but yeah, if the Americans aren't there, I'm going to find my NBA player who's on the gold medal roster and root for them. I mean, not that I'm rooting against the Americans, but you root for who you like.
Yeah,
and especially in the big sports where pros are entering, you want your country to win, but you have your favorite players.
No, I think that's really it. And I think we should reiterate what you just said. Like, so if you are sort of looking at this and saying, well, they're bringing too much politics into it, You should point me back to the Olympics that you were alive in where that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You'd have to go back to when none of us were alive.
Back to where they wore fig leaves during the track and field events.
Yeah, I mean, like,
because I guess in the Greek days, the Olympics were an all nude event.
my dad was telling me that, and I didn't want to picture that, but.
And the wrestlers oiled up with olive oil and all that other stuff.
That's great.
It's good imagery.
Yes, thank you for that. All right, so with that, the Hall of Fame show comes to a close with salad oil on Greek bodies. All right. That's why you're the substitute.
Oh, that's why I'm probably never going to be asked back again.
No, look, we've got to set up episode 5 of the Classic Sports Review.
We do?
Yes. So
what did you thought about Joe Touch 'em All? Was that one of the suggestions?
Yeah, I'm going to look for that one. And if not, then I think maybe something timely, because I have someone here who played college basketball.
Okay.
She was a big fan of the Dream Team.
Okay.
So that might be a little bit timely. We could look at maybe either US versus Angola in their first game, or US winning the whole thing, which might be more fun, depending on what I can find.
I mean, it's material dependent.
Yeah, so something like that, but we'll decide on something in the next little while. With that, everyone, regardless of who you're cheering for in the Olympics or who you're cheering against, stay safe. That's it. That's all. Bye, everybody.